So, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. My name is Matt Schumann. I'm a programming librarian here at the library. Sorry, I'm just talking a little fast. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that this program is made possible by your generous donors to the Cary Library Foundation and to all of you who attend our programs in person or virtually. I'd like to now introduce Ashley Rooney, host of our gardening series. She has brought innumerable experts to the library for the past 2 years to answer all of our gardening questions. So now please give a warm welcome to Ashley.
As he said, it's lovely to have a live audience. It's so nice not to be in front of a Zoom camera for a while. And tonight we have Jennifir Huston, who's new in town, and she worked at the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina, which is one of the Vanderbilt mansions, and a place I certainly want to go before I fold my tents and don't go anywhere anymore. But that is one elegant mansion, and she worked for 5 years on the floral displays team. And so now she's come up here, and she's working in this library. She's working at a Flower Shoppe in Reading, who I think has helped with the flowers when we have cards. And she's going to demonstrate how to make a centerpiece and a hand-tie arrangement you could easily give to somebody. And I'm going to be your guinea pig on some of these things. I'm much better at gardening than floral display, so I'll be happy to learn, and you all can laugh at me. It can be easily done. So take it away, Jennifir.
So like she said, I'm Jennifir. Can everybody hear me pretty good? Okay. So I've been in the Boston area for about like 10 years now. And I came up here, started working at Mahoney's. When I worked at Biltmore Estate, I only knew vintage flower arranging. So when I came and started applying, nobody wanted to hire me. They're like, you know, if a 95-year-old couple owns the shop, you can work there. But I only knew like Down Abbey style arrangements, and I guess that wasn't the thing here. So Mahoney's hired me, and I learned the modern, and so I kind of married the two design styles together. So I kind of have like a nice little mix. One of the cool things that we did at Biltmore Estate, though, was they have like 8,000 acres we can cut. Plants, greens, flowers to put in the arrangement. So we didn't have to like go buy any greens at all. And that's the great thing, if you have a nice yard, you can also go out and cut like dogwood branches or tulips, or even experiment. I have been known to cut something off and think, oh, that'll look pretty in arrangement. Let me test it out overnight and see how it does in water, and if it looks good, then I'll use it in an arrangement. To me, there's no such thing as a weed. A weed can be a filler, a weed can enhance, and just all the different textures and fills, and just, I don't know, I think every flower, every greenery, every pod, every aspect of a plant can add. So basically what I want to do for y'all tonight is show you how you can either get from your yard any flowers or plants, or go to your local florist, even your grocery store or anywhere, and get some flowers and make your own pretty flower arrangements. If you're like going to somebody's house for dinner, or somebody lost their pet and you want to, you can be your own professional flower designer. So the first thing I'm going to show you, like Ashley said, how to do a centerpiece arrangement and how to do a hand tie. Because a lot of times people have tons of vases, they don't need any more vases. And a hand tie is something that's already kind of designed. You cut it, they can put it in the vase. They don't have to worry about arranging it, because not everybody has time for that or enjoys that, but they like the flowers. So what I'm going to do is first show you just like a small centerpiece, and this is a 5-inch cylinder. After you're done, or you get it to where you are, I would recommend filling it to the top. And every flower shop, wherever you go, is going to give you some kind of packet of flower food. I always do like lukewarm water. Flowers like hydrangeas, which are woody, and lilacs, all like hot water, not like scorching hot water, but hot water. You also can cut them in an X kind of, so it'll take up the water better. I've hammered the bottom of the stems of a hydrangea, and to help them take up the water. It's just, so I'll just cut a little bit of this. And something this size, you don't need a whole thing of this. I just kind of, I'm like a chef, I don't really measure. You know, and I just put some in there. So this one I want to show you how you see the leaf wraps a lot. What we do. So some of the tools of the trade, these are my personal tools. I like this. This is like my pruner. It's a good gardening tool. You can use a regular pair of pruners. Those are good for like the really hard to cut. Ashley, I don't know if you want to walk this around. It's a little dirty, sorry. It's well used. So that's good because also in the very back part where the scissors come together is a little wire cutter, which is kind of handy. This I like to use, this is like more like a bonsai pair of scissors, and all of these I've gotten on Amazon, so they're easy to find and buy. I like this for like really dainty kind of flowers, like baby's breath. Yeah, pass that around. So most beginners are not comfortable with knives. This is my tool of choice, a knife. I use the knife, and you don't have to do this if you're not comfortable, but for me, I do this, I cut the edge off, just like that, and then I kind of turn it like this, and I do just kind of a nice little, and I'm ripping it, but you do that, nice little cut, like that, to help it bend easier. I personally like to do 2, so I'll just cut it like that. You're not supposed to have a knife go towards yourself, I'm sorry about that, but it's easier for me. So I just kind of overlap them like this. And then when I overlap it, I just kind of bring it around like so, and I just put it right in the vase. And then this will hide any ugly stems, because there are sometimes the water gets dirty, and it makes the water look yucky and ugly. It just gives it a more polished. But some people like to see the stems. You just have to make sure you, yes?
What is that?
This is called aspidistra, which its common name is cast iron plant. And you can ask for it. Most floral shops have it. I don't know if all grocery stores will have it. But
I use hosta.
you can use hosta.
Yeah,
Hosta's another good one. I've been known to, around the holidays, take magnolia leaves, which is kind of neat. Gives it a nice little holiday flair to it. So there's a couple of different, and I'm going to give Ashley a couple of these so she can show you. So this is called lemon leaf. This is a nice base green. I'll show you this, but I'm not going to encourage this. Oasis or Floral Foam, bad for the environment. You will see it used a lot in funeral arrangements. Also, the flowers won't last as long, and it's not biodegradable. So it does get used, unfortunately, but there are tricks to not have to use that. One is have a good, nice base of greens. So like one little trick that I do, and I find I just kind of break it off. While you're doing it, you can take off the leaves at the bottom, because you want to try not to have leaves in the water, because it can cause them to rot and make the flowers not last as long. So, and I just kind of make it in my hand. Thank you, Ashley. Until I think it's nice and thick enough to go in the vase. So I'll just kind of look at it. One of the things I like to do when I'm making an arrangement before I cut, just because I've wasted so many flowers in the past before I learned this little trick, is I hold it up next to the vase. Okay, does that look good? That looks like a good, and then I'll see where I cut it. And this is where the thick one comes in handy. And I'll just cut it. Also, the stems, if you want to extend the stem, I will be showing you something like this to extend it. you can use these stems, so you're reusing, repurposing whatever stems you have, which is kind of a nice way to, instead of buying the little green sticks that, color the water green. So I test it, I look at it, I see, okay, that might be a little bit too tall. I'd like it a little bit tighter. So I'll just cut it down a little bit more. And I put it in. And that is kind of my base green. Then I add to it with, and I will have Ashley walk around with this. This is a nice, different texture, long lasting. Some people might even have this growing in their yard. It's called Pittosporum. I think the common name is Daphne. And what's nice about this is you could get a couple of stems from your flower shop. You don't have to buy a whole bunch because you can break the stems off and then clean it again. Pittosporum does make the water dirty, so you definitely have to change the water after you're finished with your arrangement. So and then you can kind of, and this is one I like to use because it's thicker. I like to use my thicker, and I'll cut it at an angle and just kind of place it in different areas around the vase. I tend to be, and this might be helpful, a little systematic. So I consider myself an artist, but I am a little systematic. It helps me to make sure everything's proportioned the way it should be and look pleasing to the eye. So I just kind of do that, and these are nice because it just adds a different texture, a different green, and a little more interest. Sometimes I just break it. If you ever go to your local flower shop and just kind of take a look at what's going on behind the scenes, there's a lot of hustle and bustle and a lot of cleaning and a lot of breaking and a lot of cutting, and you don't even realize how busy it is until you go in there and you're just like, oh my goodness. Especially on a wedding, for a wedding, or during a holiday, Mother's Day. And see, it's such a natural thing. This is like, the knife is an extension of me that I picked that up instead of my scissors. Another green I like to use is called Israeli Ruscus. There is an Italian Ruscus. It looks a lot different. It's not as pretty as this. This kind of gives a new dimension. And what's nice about Israeli Ruscus is you can get one stem and you can get a couple of stems out of it. So you just kind of cut it. Ashley, do you want to take a piece of it around? This is also a green that we use in corsages and boutonnieres because they last. And they're a nice texture for that small. So I'll just kind of do a little bit, play with it, and then cut. And so I just kind of cut it right at the node, and I'll just keep putting it around. Another little trick and a little thing that I like to do, and this is just kind of me, I like to do everything in odds. It's like a big thing in gardening too. Do things in odds just because it's not so jarring. When I was in horticulture school, one of my professors was like, you don't want them looking like soldiers, So you want to kind of stagger, or just, because you want it to look pleasing to the eye and if it makes your eyes jump, it's not relaxing, and to me it's not beautiful. Even if you have beautiful elements inside it. So, and I just kind of do this. I want to try and make sure. And you might hear the word mechanics a lot. You don't want people to see what goes into what you've made. You want it to look seamless. And that's one of the beauties and magic of being a floral designer. We have so much blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it, but you never see it when you pick it up. Or when you get your flower arrangement around Valentine's Day in the office. It's crazy, but we do it because we love it. We love flowers. And it's really nice to see the look on people's faces. Especially if you're, people do just because. And it's just nice to get something when you're not in a good mood, or even if somebody just comes and picks up one rose for you.
It's nice to get it as a surprise.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, that's the best kind. Don't wait for the holiday or a birthday. Do it just because it's Sunday.
Yeah.
You know. So this is kind of my base. This is what I'm starting out with. The next trick is, it's always good to start with your largest flower first. This helps you keep everything in proportion. And so this one I've decided, and some designers think what they're going to put in. So I'm like, oh, what do I want to start with and go from there? I'm kind of in the middle right now with that tonight. I know I want to start with a blue hydrangea. So I'm going to do 3 blue hydrangea, and I'll let Ashley walk around. Most of you probably know what a blue hydrangea is, but they're always nice to look at.
I have to deal with the stem.
Yeah. You can see how the stem works, and a lot of times if you see on the bottom or different places just little dark spots that look like oops, just kind of pull those off. And this is a nice blue hydrangea because it's so nice and full. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to hold it against my vase, just kind of get an idea. Okay, looks like that's about a good height. I cut it at an angle. Then I'll go and I'll do another cross cut. And a lot of people worry about, oh, if you cut your hydrangea so short, won't it die sooner? The answer to that is no, it might live a little longer because it doesn't have as far to go with the water. Also, if you do have a hydrangea and you see it flopping over, usually you can take it and you can cut it and put it in hot water. And it about 75% of the time it will come back to life. So this whole thing, yeah. And hot water, yep. So I wouldn't do scorching, but you want it more than more than lukewarm.
Yeah.
And sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always worth a shot and try. It happens a lot. We get hydrangeas that come into the shop. Some of them go like this, and then we take those out and we recut them, see if they come back, and if they come back in the next, sometimes it'll only take a couple hours. If they don't come back for a few hours, they're probably, that's it. But, so I'm gonna turn it and just kind of add my next hydrangea in. And again, I'll do my cut. And it doesn't have to be perfect, you just want it to be. And then always when you put your flowers in, put them in kind of at an angle like that, because then the flowers themselves can help hold in the other flowers, which is kind of nice. You can use the stems. I've made plenty of arrangements where I started out not doing the handful, but when you're working fast, you have to do the handful, where you just do it by the stem. So we'll put in one more hydrangea. And then I always try to clean off, again, any of the leaves. Also, you can make your own flower food. There's different recipes on the web. I think I put a little note in the handout about that. One of the recipes I've used is 1 part Sprite or 7-Up, 1 part water, 1 part bleach. It's really important that that Sprite has sugar. They like their sugar. They're not going for that diet. No. All right, so we have our first base flower. It's already looking kind of, and then, next thing, I've decided I wanted to do mini green hydrangea. This is one of my favorite flowers to work with because it's a little bit smaller than a regular hydrangea, but it adds a nice, slightly different texture and color, and green looks good with anything, honestly. So I just handle it at the same time. Ashley, do you? And usually all flower shops will have these. I think I've seen them in the grocery stores.
What kind of hydrangea is this?
Mini green.
Mini green.
And so I'll just clean it off, and I'm kind of eyeing it, and I see It's an extension. You will, when you go to a flower shop, just watch how many of those floral designers are walking around with their knife as if it's a part of their hand. So I just cut it. And these come back even better than the colored hydrangea. And then if you have like, I call them sheep's head. They look like sheep heads when you look from the side, but they're the PGs that you can grow in your yard. You can cut those while they're still slightly green and dry them. And so they're, when I worked at Biltmore, we would do that. And we would put them on the Christmas trees. So, thank you, Ashley. So I'll do 3, just to kind of, and the nice thing about this is it helps break up the blue. Blue's pretty, but you have too much, you don't want to overwhelm it. And then sometimes I like to leave these on because I think these are a nice added texture. And then did you notice as I'm working on it, if I notice like a little piece with some brown on it, I just pull it right off. And then I turn it, and I'll add my 3rd hydrangea. And then we can pick another large flower. So we can do, why don't we do a Gerber Daisy? Because we want to put Ashley to work.
I practice on this one.
Yes. So we're gonna do some of the yellow Gerbers, and Ashley's gonna show you the trick while I talk about the trick. Unless we already did yeah, we'll do it on the pink one. Yeah. So the trick is, a lot of times Gerber Daisies, people are afraid to work with Gerber Daisies. They can be a little intimidating because they look kind of big, or they flop, or the heads just don't want to work with you. So what you do is you take a piece of wire, what Ashley's doing is she's putting it in the bottom of the flower. And when you do that,
Like this.
yeah, so it doesn't flop on you. Oop. So it's trying to find another one to kind of work along. But you put it through the bottom of the flower, just like that. And you bend it down, and it helps stabilize the stem when you put it in. So it's a good stabilizer. It makes it look a little better. So that's one of our little tricks that we do to make Gerber Daisies work for us. Flowers have a mind of their own. They don't always like to listen to us. So you can just use like these scissors, or if you're comfortable, you can use your knife. I wouldn't recommend using regular scissors, only because they're kind of a pain to use on stems, but they're good for your ribbon. So I just kind of hold it. I'm going to put it right around in between, above the mini green hydrangea and the blue. So I'll cut right about here at an angle, and then I'll just put it right in there, and it works. It works for us. And then I will do it again on this side and this side. So again, I like to do 3s and 5s. With the bigger ones, I tend to do 3s. There is a type of the more modern arrangement. A lot of times it's in the cube. You can do 1 hydrangea and then a grouping of 2 or 3 mini green hydrangeas, and then a grouping of 3 Gerber daisies, and a grouping of 3 to 5 roses. Just depends on how big a vase you have, how full you want to make it, that sort of thing. So I will cut this one and put this one in. You will see a lot of floral designers put stems through hydrangea blooms. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like doing that. I think it tears up the hydrangea. I mean, I know it makes it seem like you're getting more out of your flower, but if you didn't cut it long enough, or something, or the hydrangea dies and you have to pull it out to recut it or replace it, you're kind of losing half the arrangement right there because of that. So, and sometimes you will notice that the stems don't always make it in the water, and you just have to put it back. There we go. So I will put in this last one. I'll hold this up so y'all can see what we have made so far. Nice, pretty color, sunflower. And so now I picked out a really pretty, it's called Country Home Rose. I think it's a gorgeous rose. And Ashley's gonna help me clean 3 of them.
Well, this is where I get to blow.
Yep, you get to blow. Yes, you get to blow them. So I'm gonna give you. So what we do is we pull out the outer petals. You will see this when you go to a flower shop. They might clean them for you if you buy, like, you know, the dozen roses. And you're wondering, what are they doing here, roses? They're just taking the outer protective petals off.
You typically break them off or not?
Yeah, not that, no. And then, if you want it to kind of look fuller, you can blow on it.
Oh, I'd never seen this before.
So you can blow on it, you can gently, and this is a nice trick. Lilies, if you like having like oriental lilies, and sometimes they're not completely closed, you can gently massage it open. You have to be very gentle. And you'll notice it'll start to come open, as long as it's not too tight. And then I recommend immediately, as soon as you can, clean off the pollen, because it stains. And then if you don't, then the flower doesn't last as long. If for some reason you ever get pollen on a lily, you can take a pipe cleaner and gently rub it, and it will get rid of the pollen. If you get it on your clothes, you can do that as well. You definitely don't want to use water to try and get it out, because it's just going to stain. I've had my whole hands be yellow. You know, because when I worked at Biltmore, I had to clean a lot of Easter lilies, and it was awful. But the pipe cleaner is like the best tool to help clean it up right away. So I think this is a pretty rose to go with this color. And so I'm just gonna kind of be like, where do I think it should go? And just kind of set it next to it, cut it at an angle, and put it in at an angle. And don't be afraid to open a door so it can go in. The flowers are tougher than you think. They really go through a lot to get to us. A lot of times the hydrangea, especially the really nice expensive hydrangeas, come from like Holland. We get a lot that come from Colombia, South America, and they come in boxes. So as soon as they come in, we have to cut them and make sure, and Ashley, I don't know if you want to walk one of these around for everybody to see them, but
It's hard to see.
yeah.
You all saw me blow on.
But anyway, they come in boxes, and so especially around holidays, it can take us a couple days to cut all the flowers, get them in water. They have to sit in water before they can be put in a cooler. That way they make sure, especially like the mini green hydrangeas at the Flower Shoppe, we may wait a couple days after they've been cut to put them in the cooler, because it helps them last longer, and we call it toughen them up. So, and then you just kind of have to put it in. I've learned to be tougher with my flowers. It's still nice at the same time. Just gotta be firm. And so I just need one more rose, please. Thank you. Ashley's beautiful rose. I tend to like to do at least 3 major flowers, focus flowers. And so in this case, that would be the rose, the Gerber Daisy, and the blue hydrangea. I also want to show you a little trick with cymbidiums. You'll see this in arrangements that you may have had delivered to you. This is a Cymbidium Orchid, which is really pretty. And you can buy them by the bloom for $3.50 from your florist. You just have to ask them, they'll pinch it off for you. And then you put it in a water tube. Unfortunately, I forgot my floral tape, so I can't extend. Usually I would take a stem and floral tape and extend this and then cut it so it doesn't fall out. And then this adds kind of a nice little elegant touch to your arrangement. Another fun thing you can do, and Ashley can do this with me. Don't be afraid, it'll be okay. to open it up, you just kind of very gently do that, and it opens it up a little bit more.
It's scary to do
You'll
that
see.
while working.
I know. I am happy to do it if you would like.
No, that's okay.
And usually that stem would help hold it up. But, okay, we're going to improvise here.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I have to say, well, we will improvise. I will use something. I forgot my bind wire too. I don't know. I left a whole bunch of stuff. But we'll just wire it. We're going to improvise. That is one of the things that you will find. One of my favorite things I came up with years ago was where there's a floral will, there's a floral way. You can make it happen. Make it work, just like Tim Gunn says.
That could be the motto of your flower shop.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Tim Gunn and his make it work. So I say that all the time during holidays. So I always say, where there's a floral will, there's a floral way. Because people ask for some of the craziest things, and working at Biltmore Estate, I had to come up with some ways to make things work. So and then I just kind of put it in there. I'm going to do 3. Usually, you can do like 1 or 2, but I like to do 3. Just depends on the cost of the arrangement that the person is. But if you're buying your own flowers and making it yourself, you're not paying that labor, so you can. So I'm just going to. Yeah, exactly. And that's another little trick. So like when you get stuff out of your, like if you have tulips, or I think I've seen like lupine or delphinium growing right now, and you want to use those in your arrangement, don't cut it all in one part of the plant. Cut one piece here, go to another plant, cut another piece, cut it like all the way down to the node, or in the case of delphinium, cut it all the way down to the ground. So that way it doesn't look like it's been cut. And also in a lot of ways it's like a good way to prune. It's a nice way, like even especially when you're cutting, like I've cut like dogwood, you can find stems that are kind of all crisscross on each other, and then you're pruning it, so you're helping it at the same time. So and then I'm just gonna gently, and then put that in there. Yeah.
Get the cameras out.
So we're not completely finished with this. I'm going to do a little bit of filler flower for you in that, and things that you can do to like enhance it that's not expensive. So there's different types of one of my favorites is wax flower. It's a nice alternative to baby's breath.
See a camera coming.
And if you like a vintage look, to me it has a little bit of a vintage appeal to it. And you can get it in this color, you can get it pinks, you can get it in whites, so it's not just, baby's breath white. Baby's breath can be pretty, it has its moments. I'm not a huge fan, but it is nice. It's a lot of people, it's sentimental. If you're doing a wedding or something, sometimes baby's breath is really pretty when it's by itself in a ball. I have seen that, and I think that's really pretty. So when she brings that back, and what's nice about wax flower, you can break it off, so you don't need a lot of stems to use in your arrangement. And I just clean this off. And wax flower has a really nice scent to it, almost like lemony. So, Kate, you want to walk this around? Everybody know that? Putting my friend to work. So wax is one of my favorites. Then you can also use, I brought Pittosporum, which is nice. Sometimes it can get a little weedy looking, so you just use it to just kind of give a little touch. If it looks too like that, too droopy, you can just pinch that piece off. Yeah, thank you, Ashley. All right, so now I'm just going to cut a couple pieces just to kind of enhance the arrangement, gives it another little texture, helps break up. So sometimes you can have like these two flowers almost too close. So it's nice to have like a little something to break it up a little bit. And this just happens to be one of my favorite, and if we have it in the shop, it tends to go in everything I make. This is a woody, kind of woody, but you don't have to do like the cross or anything like that. It lasts pretty well. This is also really nice to use in corsages, on boutonnieres. Like during prom, it's a nice alternative again to baby's breath. Sometimes you'll see us just do that, not even, sometimes you can just break a stem, go like so, and sometimes I have to hold myself back and not use too much, because I absolutely love it. So, and another fun, seeded eucalyptus. Sometimes you can get it, sometimes you can't. Is another alternative. We'll have Ashley walk that around. Gives it another nice.
You want to compare it to the other eucalyptus?
Yes, so I have this eucalyptus I'm going to use. This one has a really strong smell. So a lot of people like to take that eucalyptus and hang it in their bathtub, dry it and hang it up in their shower. Gives her a nice, nice relaxing shower. I've used so much of it sometimes that no matter how hard I try to wash it off of me, I'm smelling it for days afterwards, but it's so pretty. It adds like such a nice, different texture and look to your arrangement, and the color is different, so it's like almost like a polish to it. So I don't know how much time, I don't want to. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how to make your hand tie arrangement. And then if we have time later, we can add some more stuff to this. A lot of times if you ever notice, like a hydrangea hanging over too much, like in this, like right here, I would just take a little piece of lemon leaf, use it and help push it up. Because it's just one of those things I don't really care. I don't want it to look like it's falling out of the vase. So for me, I'm going to set this here so we can look at it. All right, so one of the keys with a hand tie arrangement is to make sure you use your greens to break everything up. Use your greens. This is where I tend to use a lot of greens. And it doesn't, because you can take a $70 hand tie arrangement and it looks like it's only $20. But you can make like a $30 hand tie arrangement and it looks like it's $70. And it all has to do with how you use your greens. So I always start out again with my lemon leaf, because it's the base, and I just kind of start creating in my hand, and I do have carpal tunnel sometimes when I do a lot of these. It gets a little, I start not feeling my hand, but these are one of my favorite things to make in the shop. So I'm just kind of starting out with a few, so I'll just stop right there. Another good thing to do, which I have not done, is prepare all your flowers first. You can clean all your flowers. I think I will do that now. Make it a little easier for you to see. Also, yes, please. So I'm going to have a pile of my greens, and then I want to do, let's do 3 hot pink roses. So we'll clean 3 of those off, and the peonies too. Yes, we're going to do the peonies. And blue perum is always nice in a hand tie. Gives it kind of more of like a nice gardening feel. So I'm going to prepare a couple stems of the blue perum. And to make peonies or something like that, before you use them open quicker, you can cut them and put them in hot water. That will help.
You want me to peel the outside leaves of these?
No. Peonies, we don't peel the outside leaves. So. Also, you get all tangled up.
Jennifir?
Yes.
What is that color again?
Blue perum? Yes, and I can't remember how to spell it. I'm very bad about spelling this one. It looks a lot like Lady's Mantle to me. It might even be Lady's Mantle, I'm not 100% sure. So I create my little pile. Then I have the peonies in a pile. I'm going to use some eucalyptus because I think that looks nice. Let's do the hot pink. Yeah, that is. Yeah. And then I just clean off the bottom of the eucalyptus. You might want to wear gloves. It's sticky. You will find that this is part of the reason my scissors look the way they do, because I don't like to wear gloves. I like to feel the flowers in my hands, and I feel like I can't feel what I'm doing when I am not wearing gloves, or when, yeah, something along those lines. And then I'll just do that. Get everything nice and ready. And this one, I also brought some sword fern I thought would be nice to go in this arrangement. And a lot of times people will go into a flower shop and be like, I just want something quick, like a quick little hand tie arrangement. To be honest with you, sometimes it takes a little longer to make a hand tie than it does a vase. I'm not really sure why, but it does. So the fern, I want about 5 stems of those, and I'll show you what to do with those.
I'm growing these.
Yes, and yeah, if you have ferns in your yard, test them out, see if they work, because they're really pretty in arrangements. I absolutely love them. So I usually take a fern, and you have to be kind of gentle, a little bit gentle. They do break easy, so always make sure I have extra just in case. And so I think we have enough.
It's hard to tell when to stop.
So I like to be able to see what I have, what I'm working with here. And I think that this one we're going to do the white hydrangea. So I'll get those ready. Pull those out. Weddings are not fun to do, but one of my favorite things to do are wedding bouquets. So, because they're just fun. And then we'll just clean off 3 of the mini green hydrangeas. And then we're going to use, I tend to not mix pink with yellow, but this is what I have, so we're improvising. Some people like that color. I mean, Dunkin' Donuts has really orange and pink, you know, so. And it's actually a nice combination.
Well, with this light green, it'll be really
Yeah. So it's very springy. So I do like to do more colorful in the spring and the summer because that's what it's like outside. Everything, you know spring is here when you see the forsythia. You know, it's like, you know it's here.
You only have 2 of these. Go with your 3.
Yeah, go with my 3, please. And then this is like a little daisy. This is one of my favorites because it has a little black center. So it adds a little more interest to it. And I'm going to also use a little bit of the Pittosporum. So I'll just clean that up. Get everything nice and ready.
This is going to be one big hand tie.
Yeah, I hope my wire is big enough since I forgot my bind wire. We'll figure something out. I have a plan. Hopefully it'll work for me.
As long as you have a plan.
I think that is it for right now. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to put these guys in. This is another inexpensive, very long-lasting flower. Most of y'all probably know what it is. It's Austromeria. And every shop, grocery store, garden center shop will have.
And it lasts forever.
It does.
You want the leaf?
Just the bottom leaves take off. Austromeria and I have a love-hate relationship. Sometimes they look a little, you see too much of the leaves versus the flower, and then it makes it look messy to me. But Austromeria is really nice when you're doing a tall arrangement because of that. So it just depends on what you're using it for. So I will taking this, and I'm going to add a little bit of my Pittosporum into the hand tie. And then I will add like a couple pieces of this blue pear. And you'll find yourself taking more pieces off. Don't be afraid to cull. Cut that off because it's sticking out. It might poke me in the eye. Don't want that to happen. So I'll just do like a couple of these. And then I'm going to go ahead and add, so again, I use the largest flower first. It just makes it easier. I kind of just tuck it in, just like that. And then I tuck this around, right around here. And then you find yourself pruning, and then I just turn it, and I'll add the third one, and you just kind of tuck it in, just like that. So you have the beginnings. Then I'll take, again, my mini hydrangea. You don't have to use hydrangeas in your hand ties, but it's always nice to have one good size flower to start with. It took me a little while to figure out a nice way to do like the lilies in hand ties because they grew weird. So I just learned with lilies, use in between the stems. You know, tuck things in that way. Don't try to like have one lily and work around it, work through it, if that makes any sense. So we'll just take another hydrangea. And then one more. So now we have our hydrangea. Now I'll take the peonies. Usually, so you could do either the peonies or the roses next, or let's do the mums. They're bigger. And sometimes you can find yourself, you can just tuck in, almost like you're making an arrangement in your hand. And you just put it in like that. And another one that sometimes they move around and shift, and you have to shift them and work with them. You know, it's a little dance. And not everybody likes roses, so there's alternatives. You don't have to use roses. Then I'll add my peony. And everybody says peony different. And sometimes you'll notice, you see how here I don't see any green? So I will just add maybe another piece of lemon to kind of balance that out. And then you have, it kind of will help, make sure you draw attention to your peony, make it look a little neater. So like right here I have a little opening. So I'll just do the same thing, just like so. And then you can take something else that you have here, like we'll take one of our eucalyptus. And eucalyptus, especially with yellow, is so pretty with yellow. Now we're going to take our last peony, do one more green right there. Put our last peony right there, and they will get bigger. Those peonies are just still really tight, and this variety is the Sarah Bernhardt. It doesn't really have a smell, unfortunately. And then I will kind of just tuck these in wherever I feel like I need them, just to kind of enhance and add texture. Another one right there. Sometimes you'll prep flowers and find that you just have too many and you're not going to use them all. And that's okay. Do a little bud vase around the house, kind of thing. I also like to have a little something coming right out, kind of at the top to kind of be like a crowning glory kind of thing. I think I'm not going to do the roses because I think the roses we don't need. But this will be nice and pretty to help make everything pop. It's always nice to have one thing make everything just pop. So I'll do another one right here. And you just have to kind of work with it, do the little dance. Then move around. All right, one more of those. So at this point, I think we have more than we can handle in here. So I kind of like to do what I call like the outline, the finishing touch. So you don't see all these stems. You just want to make it look finished. So you just kind of do that. Gives it a nice finished look. So I just kind of, I had carpal tunnel surgery, and I came back and I made everything with one hand. You learn how to, like I said, there's a floral, where there's a floral will, there's a floral way. So, and then, since I don't have bind wire, I am going to use what I have. Yes, Nikki?
I was just wondering, is there a trick for like holding it?
No.
So that you don't drop it all?
I've made bigger than this, and one thing I will do is I will use bind wire, and I will bind it and then add around it. So then that way I know I'm not going to lose what I've worked so hard. I'll keep doing that. I don't have bind wire, so I'm going to ask Ashley to help me with a little trick. You can also get somebody to help you. So before we bind it, I find it easier to make my cut before I bind it, because I find that if I make my cut after I bind it, everything gets loose. So I just take my scissors and I just kind of okay, I'll go here, and I'll just cut it all. Also, you can have a trash can, but the stems don't ever like to go where you're aiming. They have a mind of their own.
Well, as you mature as a flower designer, you learn how to get into the wastebasket.
A little better, yeah. Sometimes you're so focused on making something beautiful, you don't even,
You don't care.
you don't care. You're just like, whatever, I'll clean it up. I have a broom. So what we're gonna do is hopefully, I have this ruscus. It ties well. We're gonna try and use this to bind. I've done it with,
I hold it, you tie it.
okay, you got it. You just hold it with both your hands. Got it? So I'm just gonna take this around and tie it. This will kind of break the rules of the leaves in the vase, but if you get it somewhere and you can get some bind wire, but this will at least hold it in place. So, I've used ivy before. If you have English ivy in your backyard, especially I think the younger ivy that doesn't snap, you can use it to tie. Let me just cut that off. So, Ashley, if you want to get around, let everybody kind of
I can
see.
pretend I'm a bride again.
Yeah. So when somebody comes into the shop and asks for a hand tie or a quick arrangement, and they kind of give us a number, I always look at I always pick okay, I ask them, I was like, what color range are you looking for? First I get there. A lot of times if it's a man getting flowers for somebody, they don't really know as much. And I'm like, well, do you know what she or he doesn't like? And we don't do that. So then we just kind of, try to fill it out. It's a lot like being a librarian, actually. You have to ask and coax and see, okay, what are you looking for exactly? And so I tend to try to find either a lily to start with, and I can start from there, or a hydrangea to start with, and I go from there and go with their color range. So if they're saying, I want, let's say, yellows and reds, if it's not around the holidays or Valentine's Day, I'll try not to add whites with the reds, because then it starts looking a little too holiday-ish. So I'll do reds with like the greens or with blues or something like that, unless they absolutely hate it. Some people hate roses. They have their things that they hate, and they're like, I don't want this in here. You just find ways to, what's nice about like the Cymbidium stems, you can put it, I've done it actually in the case. You just do the same thing I did in the vase. Thank you, my brains. So that kind of gives you like a nice little touch. I have a vase over here, I'll put it in. Hopefully it'll not knock it over because I made that gigantor. Yeah, put it in that one, yes, perfect. Thank you. And usually I love putting this in. I might add this to the vase because it's just pretty. But there's all kinds of things in your yard. Don't be afraid to experiment. Just, if it dies in your test vase, that's okay. You'll find something else. I've been known to like stop on the side of the road and cut things, I mean, yeah, so as long as it's legal, I'm not getting it, I'll do it. I won't like just go anywhere. I've done that doing a lot of weddings. Biltmore Estate, I was really spoiled because I had permission. I could go anywhere. And, Biltmore Estate was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, who also did Central Park. So he knew his plants, and they were all, so we had a nice plethora of. Another nice thing, just one last little thing, with this, if you want to make like a nice wreath, this is a good vase to start wreaths. A lot of times when we do head pieces, we start with this because it's very malleable. And sometimes if you see in a tall arrangement, they're kind of like done in a way where they look like they're doing something crazy. Usually you can use wire, and that you can manipulate it in that way. Oh, I didn't even put the Astro in there. See, sometimes I just go a little nuts. But does anyone have any questions? And Ashley will.
Yes. Why don't you take off your mask so we can hear it?
I was interested in your cross-cutting technique because I've always heard you shouldn't cut flowers straight across, cut them on an angle, but I've never heard about the cross-cutting technique. What is the benefit for that?
And anything that's woody, like a woody flower or plant, especially things like hydrangea, lilac, anything like that that's having some really thick stem, that enables it to get more water up into the flower to help it last longer. And the sugar, they love the sugar. So all flower food has sugar in it. So that's what that's about, like I said, we've been known to bang the hydrangea, it all works. So.
Anybody else? Any questions about growing these flowers in your garden?
Yeah, there's a, yes?
Wait about the water for the lilacs.
Sorry.
I just wondered what temperature the water should be for the lilacs and the hydrangeas, because I have lilacs and I bring them in and the next day they're blocked.
Yeah, it needs to be not like scorching hot, but it does need to be hot. It does not, and the lilac, just do the cross cut, see if that helps.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't cut any more than you need to. Like try and make sure that the stem goes almost to the bottom of the vase, and that's where the angle part comes in. So cut it by an angle, then cross cut. So that way you're ensuring that as much water gets to the flower itself as possible to help it last.
How often do you need to change the water? Like if you have an arrangement like this?
I would change it, if you can, once a day. Once a day.
Which is hard with a heavy arrangement.
Yeah, if you can't, you find you don't have time, at least fill the vase. Because especially a newly made arrangement will drink water really fast, and you will find it will take all the water like within 12 to 24 hours. So if you can, and if you can, it's not always easy, you don't always have what you need to do it, recut the stem by like an inch when you do that, and you can add a little bit of flower food as well. So.
I think I can do without the microphone. Yeah.
You touched on drying flowers, and I know some people do that hydrangea or other, but do you have any tips on how to dry them?
Usually when I dry them, I hang them upside down. You can use hairspray. That's something that I've used. I think they do make a product that you can use just for that specific reasons. Some flowers don't dry well, so it's a matter of experimenting which ones. So like the sheep's head, I call them sheep's head because if you look at the side of them, it looks like a sheep. They're really cute. But I think they're PGs, and you can get them, I mean, but a lot of people have them in their yards up here. Like we used to sell them at Mahoney's. Just cut them while they're still slightly green. After that, they may not dry as well, but they're great to put on either like Christmas trees, or they're just a nice dry, arrangement for your mantle or your foyer, or if you want to make a wreath. They're just kind of nice. And the same thing with the eucalyptus. A lot of people like to just hang it upside down, and you can put it in your shower. A lot of people hang it like on the shower head, and it makes a nice relaxing aroma for your shower because it steams it too. So, but that's my recommendation, and then just experimenting. Not all roses dry well. It just depends on the variety, really. And I think it's getting harder and harder because they're like making the roses not have smells because of people's allergies. But the PGs have been the easiest, and I think it's hit or miss with these type of hydrangea. The best ones are the ones we get in the fall. The ones that have that nice fall color. I like to make an arrangement I call my Impressionist Arrangement, and it has like the purple fall hydrangea, and I don't have it with me, but it's a calla lily with a purple center. It's called a Picasso, although I don't think Picasso was an impressionist, but it all looks very impressionistic. So.
Well, speaking of smells, actually, are there any particular flowers that have scents that go very well together, or flowers that have scents that you would absolutely never put together, or never put in an arrangement at all?
I would suggest only one scented flower because then they might overpower each other. I would also suggest if you are using it at a dinner table, try not to have anything with scent because it can really ruin the feel. Hyacinths are beautiful, okay? They're absolutely gorgeous before they open. Then they open, I get headaches. So I can't be around, that's a flower I would not use for a dinner table, or if somebody's sensitive. A lot of oriental lilies have really strong smells that bother people. Trying to think what else. Those are the two main ones that are really sensitive. I know one year at Biltmore House I put tete, the white daffodils that you can get around Christmas, and we had to remove those from a room because they smelled so strong. All the guests coming through were getting headaches, so we can't use that. Galax leaf, certain times of the year, I would not use that because it has a really strong skunk-like smell. So, and a lot of times you can smell it if you're hiking. That's usually Galax that you're smelling. It's a really pretty leaf to use, and it lasts a long time, but you just have to be careful what time of year you use it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I have cards from the florist who donated all these. So I'm sure she would love it if you went up and said, "What lovely flowers! I'd like to buy some."
She's in Reading. She
Why
has
don't we just pass
great flowers, and she's a great wedding florist as well, and that's who I work with. So,
pass these down this
and her name is Rachel, and she's amazing. I really appreciate everybody coming out, and
I'm telling the Lexington Field Garden Club we should hire her to come speak.
I mean, I have some extra flowers if anybody wants to come and.
I bet you they do.
Yeah, so,
Who gets to take the bridal bouquet?
Matt
should take that.
I think Matt should take that too. Oh, Nikki, yeah, Nikki, we also have that one.
You can take the one in the vase, and the vase.
Yeah, Matt can take this one.
I'll put it on the.
Yeah. But I have lots of extra flowers if anybody would like to come and pick out some flowers to take with them.
Thanks all for coming.
Thank you very much.